Sometimes my expectations for a book can positively or negatively impact my reading experience. I've really enjoyed previous books by Anne Patchett. There's State of Wonder and The Dutch House. She's won awards and maintains a lovely social media presence where she recommends books she's read recently through her Nashville bookstore, Parnassus Books. Her latest novel, Tom Lake, comes with critical acclaim, and the audiobook has the distinction of being narrated by none other than Meryl Streep. However, my expectations for it were dampened somewhat when some readers told me that they found it bland and too cozy, but I plunged into reading it anyway and was pleasantly surprised to find myself falling for it. It's a story of quiet reflection and the pleasures of family life and the way that love evolves as we grow and mature. I think part of the reason why this novel resonated so much with me, like with all books, is timing. It's the right book for me to read now. I've been dealing with some personal difficulties in my life, and this story deeply meditates on comparing the present self with the past self. The main character and narrator is Laura, who lives with her husband Joe on a Michigan cherry farm that's been in his family for generations. And when the recent pandemic starts spreading across America, their three daughters, who are all in their 20s, come back to the farm to shelter with them there and to assist in the big job of harvesting the cherries. While living together in isolation, the daughters demand to know Laura's story about dating an actor named Peter Duke when she was younger. He wasn't famous at the time, but he went on to become a big celebrity. While in this state of lockdown limbo, Laura recounts her experiences in the 1980s, becoming a promising young actress herself, and her heated romance with Duke. They met while performing in a summer stock production of Our Town at a location known as Tom Lake. The question of why she didn't continue to pursue acting or her romance with this rising star isn't simple, wistful thinking about the road not taken. It's a confrontation with the past where revisiting it from a more mature point of view leads to revelations about what was really at stake and the difficult process of growing into herself. Relating the story to her daughters and her husband also requires a process of selecting what to tell and what to leave out, not so much to conceal the truth, but as a way of preserving a tender part of her life. I've seen criticism of this novel from readers who are bored by a lack of conflict and a lack of dramatic plot, which is fair and understandable in a way because it's not a showy book. There are certainly twists and revelations, and part of the pleasure of this is when Laura realizes something about the past that she didn't see at the time. Sometimes we can think back on the past and suddenly there's clarity where there used to be complete confusion. This has certainly happened to me. However, I also think there's a lot on the line for Laura, even though she's genuinely content with where she is in her life. Not just content, actually. She dearly loves her family and her life on the farm and her dog, so it's easy in a way to just think of this novel as cozy fiction. But raking over the past forces her to consider how her life has been shaped both by forces beyond her control and crucial decisions that she's made. There's the risk, the very real risk of getting lost in longing. Part of the pleasure I found in this novel is that it's so much about acting. I used to love acting, and there are so many scenes here about the chaos and the camaraderie that comes with putting on a production. Also, Patchett shows how the process of performing a character isn't just about portraying a role. It reveals different aspects of a person's personality which hides within them. Ironically, it can be like a stepping stone towards living more authentically. It's a process of becoming. Yes, it's a profession, but it's also a more flamboyant example of how we all adopt personas to meet challenges and new developments in our lives. By inhabiting the role of Emily Webb in Our Town, that character becomes like a companion to Laura that she can play off from in the process of discovering what she truly wants. This novel is also like a homage to Our Town, and if you know that play, there will undoubtedly be a lot of pleasure in the way that Patchett playfully incorporates it into her story. Personally, I've never read that play or seen a production of it, but I'm aware of its plot and its canonical place in American theater, so I don't think you need to be familiar with that play to appreciate this novel. I guess the main thing I loved about this is how it shows the way we shape the stories of our lives, and it doesn't feel the need to scandalize its protagonist's story to do that. In a way, it feels more daring to portray contentment and the good fortune of achieving what one really desires rather than presenting anguish in one's lot in life. Ann Patchett is a very famous author, and this has been a very successful book, so it doesn't need me defending it. I understand that it's a story that won't resonate or entertain every reader, and that's fine, but I just want to share why I found it such a moving experience. If you've read this book, let me know what you think of it, whether that's positive or negative, or whether you agree with me or disagree with me, or let me know if you're planning on reading it. Or are there any other books that you went into with quite low expectations but found yourself becoming completely enraptured by the story? I would love to hear about examples of when that has happened to you, but I hope you're doing well and reading good things. I'll speak to you again soon.